Hey
Hi,
guys,
everybody.
it's Sandra.
And Josh.
And we are
The Piece of Happiness.
Recently, we had the immense honor to sit down with the Humane Party candidate, Clifton Roberts, for an interview via Skype.
In case you haven't heard of the Humane Party, they're new on the scene. They have the most profound platform ever seen in American politics. And for the first time, they have their presidential nominee, Clifton Roberts.
If you're curious to learn more about the Humane Party's platform, you can check out this video by Bite Size Vegan, where she also interviews Clifton Roberts and gives a phenomenal overview of their entire platform, even deviating from the most obvious of topics, which is the topic of veganism and personhood.
Also, you can check out a more in-depth interview with Clifton on the YouTube channel The Onion Knight Show. And actually, The Onion Knight has a couple of videos regarding the campaign trail and Clifton Roberts and the Humane Party and their progress. Really exciting stuff.
We would like to give a quick shout out to our friend Millie, who set up this wonderful interview with Clifton. Yes. This interview was actually supposed to be part of a public event, and unfortunately the public event was canceled after Millie was involved in a car accident the night before. So Millie, we send you our love and positive vibes for a quick recovery.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for everything, Millie. This could not have been possible without your help, and we are so appreciative. And Clifton and the whole team is so appreciative of everything you did and that you do for us.
While this is Clifton's first campaign, he will also be running again in 2020, which we'll talk about a little bit in the interview. But the best thing that you can do if this interview strikes a chord with you, if this is their first time hearing about the Humane Party, is to share. Get the information out there so that people know that this is an option for us as Americans. If this message resonates with you, I encourage you to go to thehumaneparty.org and check out all of their campaigns. Our personal political views don't actually matter much here, as this is more of a platform to alert you guys to the fact that you have these choices, that there is a candidate out there who is championing for animals and for total animal liberation.
And, I mean, that being said, regardless of your own political views, I think we can all acknowledge that this is really huge for the animal rights movement. Having a political party, having candidates who in no uncertain terms lay out the damage and devastation and injustices of treating animals as property.
An issue which no other political party addresses whatsoever.
That's right.
So sit back, enjoy, and without further ado, here's Clifton Roberts. We are here today with Humane Party candidate Clifton Roberts. Clifton, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us today. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's an honor to be with you guys as well.
Yeah, this is such a wonderful opportunity, and you are doing an amazing thing, raising awareness around the nation and the world on a level that just hasn't been seen before, and bringing this to the discussion. And so really, really great. We applaud you so much on what you and the Humane Party have accomplished already.
Well, thank you so much. And, I feel the same way about the community that is dedicated to protecting animals, the community that's dedicated to protecting the environment and this planet, starting off here, of course, in this wonderful country of ours. So, again, it's my honor. Thank you. And I look forward to a fruitful and healthy discussion today.
Awesome. We have some questions that we came up with and then a couple from our fans and viewers, so we're excited to get to those as well.
Alrighty, let us begin.
Excellent.
Okay, so you're the very first Humane Party presidential nominee, which is amazing. So please, for everyone watching, we'd like you to clarify what the platform is all about. In particular, we'd like you to focus on some of the key factors that we know are on the minds of anyone who's familiar with you, such as personhood status for all animals, which of course goes hand in hand with animal liberation, your plans to do away with the Electoral College, and your ideas on foreign policy. So a lot to cover, but if you would just give us a brief overview of what Clifton Roberts' presidency would look like.
Great. Yeah. So I think the best place to start off is, I work in enterprise, and by that meaning I work in, my day job is with a corporation, and it's one of the largest semiconductor companies in the world. And one of the things that we do in enterprise is we always set out a vision statement. Then you have your strategy to help support the vision of an organization, and then you have the tactical elements, which is more down in the weeds, and that's where we want to collaborate with people like you and people in your audience to determine how it is we're going to accomplish the strategic elements of our vision. And so I wanted to start off with the vision of the Humane Party. And in 2014, being a citizen just like you and your audience, I was looking for a way to make more of an impact. And I thought to myself, one of the processes available to us is politics. And within politics, you have a small amount of people that represents, supposedly, the voices of everyone in this country. And those people actually have the capability to write legislation, to overturn legislation that kind of governs everything that we do. So I knew that I had a very unique opportunity to get involved. Well, of course, there's nothing about the the platform of the Democrats or the platform of the Republicans that addresses root cause, and specifically the killing of billions and billions of animals in this country. And that is tied to so many other problems that we have. So initially, I remember saying to myself, I should start a political party, but I went online and I was looking for political parties that addressed animal agriculture, called out the pink elephant in the room, which is killing these billions and billions of animals, and doing so for food, and which causes our society to be unhealthy. I knew it was going to be difficult, or at least I thought it would be difficult to find a political party that way. And of course, lo and behold, I came across the Humane Party. And the vision of the Humane Party, of course, is a sustainably prosperous economy, a fiscally responsible, conscientious, and competent government led by officials who are ethical and who do things with uncompromising integrity, and a healthy and educated population. I mean, the vision statement was amazing. So I volunteered for the party because I knew that after having conversations with the board of directors, this was a party made up of volunteers committed to eliminating the torture, mutilation, and slaughter of non-human animals, to, like you said, doing away with the Electoral College and replacing that system with a pure democratic system of elections for the president and the vice president, finding more sustainable ways to provide energy within this country, eliminating systems and practices that create profit motives to go to war. And by the way, I read somewhere recently that since the late 1700s, this country has been at war for over 230 years. Every year for 230 years. So that particular platform component really stood out to me. And eliminating systems and practices designed to incarcerate people and to keep them incarcerated. Eliminating genetically modified organisms. And, I know that that's a hot topic for some, but for me personally, I would rather just eat naturally, and, that's just something that's personal, but it's part of our platform as well. So, of course, when I came across this platform, I knew that it was the most profound platform, the most honest platform that I had come across, and I wanted to get involved. And that's one thing I want to stress to you and your listeners is I've seen some posts say, well, Clifton's a politician. Is he telling the truth? Look, I'm a father, a family man, a working citizen. I've been a citizen of this country for 49 years. I'm 49 years old, just turned 49 in September. And I can truly tell you that I was excited about the Humane Party for the same exact reasons that we see people being excited about the Humane Party now. So I volunteered, based on my education, based on my corporate organizational experience. I was offered the role of CEO, and we did so again on a completely volunteer basis, and started to increase awareness. And then in 2014, the board of directors for the Humane Party approached me with the whispers of nominating me to run for the president of the United States. And of course, as you can imagine, that was a tremendous honor.
Sure.
And I accepted, and the rest, as we say, is history.
Very, very cool. Awesome.
Very good. Well put. And we're excited for all the same reasons. It's so wonderful that this exists at all. Amazing. And it's...
I completely agree with you. Let me tell you, I'm really involved in social media. I really believe working in technology. My position at this technology company is senior manager of ethics and legal compliance.
Okay.
I love it.
And my job there, me too. I love my job. I really do. And my job there is, we have employees all over the world, almost 100,000 employees in almost every single country you can think of. And of course, as you can imagine, it's hard to provide oversight into the way we do business. So we have to establish those partnerships. We have to be able to communicate across international lines. We have to work cross-functionally together. We have to develop and identify. We have to identify the solutions and the root cause. Identify the problems or the issues. Identify the root cause solutions, right? And so part of what I do is work with people, whether it's virtually, whether it's face-to-face, to develop solutions. And so working in enterprise, it's always a great feeling to be able to accomplish something in concert with somebody else. And anyway, yesterday, just to let you know how far this party has come, I went to the grocery store with my daughter. And I think that social media is one of these things where we have to take advantage of technology. And I'm walking, and then this guy walks by me, and he says, "Clifton Roberts?" And I look over, and I said, "Yeah, hi." And he says, "Hey, I'm a vegan." And and we follow each other on social media, and we took a picture together. So the word is definitely getting out there. Here it is, a little guy born in Japan on a military base, to the parents of an African-American father and a Korean mother. And of course, born, let's get that out the way, I'm a U.S. citizen because I was born on a military installation.
Someone's going to ask, so.
Of course, absolutely. But to see how far this has come and the impact it's made is still very surreal.
That's wonderful. So our next question is, so obviously, you have so much momentum going in the vegan community, which is phenomenal. But unfortunately, we all know that the non-vegan community far outweighs the vegan community in the United States. And so kind of addressing the general public who may not actually understand a whole lot about why personhood for non-human animals and protection for non-human animals is such a growing social justice movement. Can you speak a little bit to kind of why that is the next social justice movement and why it's such a huge platform of the Humane Party?
Yeah, because we know that all of the people that work for the Humane Party and vegans like yourselves or people that are interested in animal liberation understand the effects that producing animals now. We're no longer even just breeding animals. We're actually producing animals to satisfy a person's tradition, to satisfy culture, to satisfy their habits. And it's destroying our topography. It's emitting more greenhouse gases than every component of the transportation industry combined. And that's not just an opinion anymore. I mean,
Right.
we are a political party that is based in ethics and science. So you have the majority of the scientific community that is providing evidence that what we are doing in terms of mass producing animals only to turn around and kill them by the billions and billions and billions each year without any concern to their well-being, concern to their feelings, is making us sick as a nation. It's making us aggressive. It is destroying our relationships with our neighbors in other countries. It's destroying our planet, and we need to change that. And there's no other political party, or there is no other candidate for the office of the President of the United States, or vice presidential candidate for that matter, because our vice presidential candidate is also vegan. Mm-hmm. There's no other political party that includes this type of data in their political platform. So we have a number of different strategies to engage with the rest of this population that is non-vegan. For example, we spend trillions of dollars on healthcare. Well, we know that if we make people healthy and change their diet, it's going to affect the economy. We know that employers spend a lot of money with healthcare and subsidizing a person's healthcare because they go to work. Well, imagine employers with a healthy population of employees. What that's going to do. That's going to keep jobs in this country. It's going to lower their spend. They're going to have the ability to raise wages. Mm-hmm. So there's so much interconnectedness and intersection of the way that we treat animals and what it does and the effects it has on other platform components and even everyday life of other people. I did an analogy with an interview with Marlene Naro of Vegan Nation the other day, and I said to her, I wanted her to imagine if the United States was 100 people, and you have an alternate version of the United States that's also 100 people, and this group of 100 people did not kill any beings, planted their own, lived off a whole food plant-based diet. Their economic output, their treatment of each other, when they happened across other people from different countries, their treatment towards them, the land and space that they live in, can you imagine what that would look like compared to the country of 100 people if, let's say, 10 of those 100, 10%, killed everything that they saw? Their children would be traumatized. The economic output would be ridiculous compared to this other country. So it's very connected, in my opinion.
Yeah, if there's not already a good infographic for that, we should start making it. That's a really beautiful analogy.
Yes,
that really helps.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does. If you model the 350 million people that exist in this country today, and you really just said, hey, if America was 100 people, what would it look like? Yeah. Well, in America with 100 people that truly cared about the lives of its goat friends and its cow friends and chicken friends, and we use we leverage their strength and what it is that they can even accomplish and help us build a community together. And we offered them guidance, and they were also able. They teach us every day, right, about humanity.
Oh, absolutely.
And here it is that, the embodiment of heaven, the embodiment of God, if you believe in God, as I do, or a supreme being, right? The embodiment of that is nature. I mean, what it is that we should be looking out for and using our intellectual capability and our intellectual advantage is to protect what it is that nature provides us. And group of 100 people would just be a fantastic graphic. I agree with you. Maybe we should work on it together.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, moving on to our next query. So we watched your interviews featured on the Onion Night show, as well as on the channel of one of our personal heroes, Emily of Bite Size Vegan. And you brought this up earlier. I'm glad you did. You talked about your formula for compassion, and that is compassion equals instinct minus tradition minus habits minus culture. So you did a little bit, but if you would just expound on what this means to you and how this formula would influence your administration.
Yeah, that's a great question. I want to add too, Emily is a hero of mine.
Yeah.
I've watched her videos for years, and I've actually used Emily's videos, Gary Yourofsky obviously, to help convert other people that ate meat and kind of set them on a journey to a plant-based diet. By the way, have you heard about my acronym for M.E.A.T?
I don't think so.
I don't know. No.
Please share.
My personal my acronym for M.E.A.T is I believe M.E.A.T is an acronym for muscle, M, and epinephrine, E, of animal tissue. And when you think about it, that's fact-based because we as mammals especially, when we're confronted with a situation where we're concerned about our safety and our well-being and our ability to survive and thrive, the hormones in our body pumps adrenaline into our muscles so that we are prepared to act, either fight or flight, right? And so every single animal that is killed, and you've seen all of the videos, I think the smartphone has completely changed the game, and that's what's kind of driven the expansion of this movement, right? But you see how scared our friends are when they're being transported or they're about to be killed. They're terrified. So there's no way to reverse that process. There's no way once epinephrine is injected into a muscle, there's no way to get that out. You can't extract what is provided in nature. So that's why I came up with that. And of course, that leads to our aggressive nature. We are a nation that eats the muscle and epinephrine of animal tissue on a very large scale. So I like to do that sometimes just to kind of put it in perspective. As far as the compassion equation, it was actually, I was watching a Gary Yourofsky video probably about 5 years ago, and I remember him saying, hey, if you put a baby in a playpen and you put that baby in the playpen with a bunny rabbit and an apple, well, ultimately the baby is going to kind of pick up the apple and chew on it, but the baby will play with that bunny. And then we've also seen many videos. Some of my favorite videos that we see on YouTube are of children who are schooling their parents.
Seen a few.
Yeah, right? I mean, we've all seen those videos.
And in fact, my mother has shared a similar story about me.
Yes, exactly. Me too. I shared with somebody recently that, and my mother remembers this. My mother lives in North Carolina, and I went to go visit my mother, and she remembered the story. But when I was 5 years old, I asked her, Mommy, what is, my mother's Korean, so she's really famous for Koreans are famous for making this dish called bulgogi, which is, it's meat, but it's very tasty. And I knew what kimchi was made out of. I knew what rice was made out of. But I asked her, what's bulgogi made out of? And she said, well, Clifton, it's cow. And that shocked me. And so at 5 years old, when she wasn't looking, I would chew the flavor out of that meat, but I just could not bring myself to swallow it. So I'd throw it behind the corner in the curio cabinet in my 5-year-old brain, thinking she'd never find it. But this is another good point. When we see animals that have been killed in nature, one of the things that we know that happens is their body decays.
Right.
There's no that's non-negotiable. Their body decays. So that's what was happening, was the meat was starting to decay, and she ultimately found it. But children are the exemplification of compassion, because it is our instinct to be compassion. So that mathematical equation is that compassion equals what it is that we are born to do instinctively, but it's minus what we've been taught through tradition, what our habits caused, the habits that we formed in terms of what tradition and culture have offered. So for me, it was very easy in just sitting down trying to explain this to somebody is that, hey, we're naturally compassionate. It's our instinct to be compassionate. All we have to do is look at our children, and it's the way we've been taught and conditioned and the habits we've been taught and the culture that we've inherited that causes us to have this non-compassionate view.
Indeed, yeah. Personally, I see a growing body of evidence attesting to this fact that compassion is inherent in our nature, and so hopefully we can all use that to convince the establishment, so to speak, that again, this is natural. That through these studies we can help unlearn all of this.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. And let's just say, for argument's sake, that we aren't able to continually scientifically prove that by instinctually a human being is compassionate.
Sure.
Let's just argue that, and let's say we try to ignore all of the mounting body of evidence that shows that we are by instinct compassionate. We're a compassionate species. Well, our intellectual advantage should tell us that we should evolve into a more compassionate being that it is our intellect that separates us from every single other animal on this planet. Our ability to reason and develop technology, to visit, to go into space, to develop medicine or treatments, build skyscrapers, build homes and cars, and convert natural resources into energy. I mean, those are things that are so powerful that we have accomplished as human beings. And I refuse to accept that when we ask people to not kill for food, that should not be the next step in our evolution.
Very well put.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And so tell us, Clifton, especially since you are the Humane Party's first presidential nominee, along the campaign trail so far, what is it that you feel has been your greatest lesson? Speaking of lessons and what we can learn from other people.
Yes, so that's a great question. And as a matter of fact, one of the things I want to do is write a letter to the board of directors talking about the lessons learned. My experience in the corporate world has always been about learning and developing your own skill sets, sharpening the saw, learning from other people. And so, I've been part of this process now for just about a year. The lessons I've learned is to be even more prepared. But now that we have had this election cycle under our belt, and we have people now that understand the vision and the mission of the Humane Party, I think the lesson learned is to be even more organized so that we can execute flawlessly. That's going to be important. When I thought of write-ins, I thought that when I started to run, I thought that, hey, we as American citizens, it's our right to vote for whoever we want. And if we just don't happen to make it on the ballot, on a pre-printed ballot this year, every citizen in this country should have the right to go to the polling booth and say, I want this person to be the president of the United States, and I want this person to be the vice president of the United States. Well, one of the things that I've learned is we need to be more organized for 2020 so that there's no question about who it is we want to vote for. Right now, we know that Arkansas, Hawaii, Louisiana, Mississippi, New Mexico, Nevada, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and I believe now South Dakota, they don't even accept write-in votes. And there's other states that you can write in anybody. Right. But that's something that came as an epiphany to me, and I think it's something that we're learning from. But what I do want to stress to you and your listeners and your audience is that it is my hope that we all grow together. it is my hope that everyone else also uses this as a lesson that we can indeed work together to accomplish what it is that we need to accomplish. So that was the number one lesson that I learned about this election cycle. It's more than just bringing awareness, and it's more than just reaching out and touching people that are not vegan, which, by the way, I'm happy to say that people have been sending me screenshots or photos of their votes that are not vegan.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's so great.
Hundreds of people, guys, have been sending me, and I'm so proud of that the Humane Party the other components of their platform are resonating with members of the non-vegan audience as well.
That's really cool. I'm not too surprised. I was really hoping for that, and even if you had got the vote of every vegan in this nation, that would be a huge. But that is so great. So great to see that.
Yeah.
To add to that, remember it was Brian of the Onion Knight that pointed out that Hillary Clinton received about 15.5 million votes in the primaries. Where she beat Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders received about 12 to 13 million votes in the primaries.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, if even half of our vegan population or vegetarian population voted for the Humane Party, a truly environmentally conscious and non-human, animal-friendly political party, that is going to make a statement, and we're coming. This is just the beginning.
Absolutely. I've heard a statistic that says that I think it's roughly 3.5% of the population that's needed for a successful social justice movement. So there's never been a successful social justice movement of the past that's not had this number. And I do think that we're starting to come up on that critical mass. It's happening.
It is. And to add to that, I'm so glad you said that, because aside from our very unique platform, which is, again, the most profound political platform that we have ever seen in the history of this country, because, even far beyond when my great-grandfather was a slave, animals have been enslaved, and it's our treatment of animals and the non-human kind that have set the stage and provided the foundation and the tools and the processes and the best practices to how we treat people. It has always been that history of our treatment of animals that we've leveraged to treat people in the same way, right? I mean, the FBI even states that, most serial killers, when they're doing a profile on a serial killer, is that at a young age, more than likely it was easy for them to torture animals or what have you. So addressing animal agriculture, addressing the murder, the mutilation, and slaughter of our non-human animal friends, getting rid of our aggressive nature and really solving the issue of going to war and bringing a lasting peace involved a lot of goals. And when we started off in this campaign, and not just this campaign, but the Humane Party platform, we had 6 goals. And I'm happy to say that we've accomplished many of those 6. The 6 goals were to establish an organizational culture that embodies compassion, that embodies cooperation, accountability, and empathy to our fellow beings. The second goal was to coordinate so that we can actually be effective and execute flawlessly when it comes to winning some elections, and not just in the executive branch, but the congressional branch as well, and in local and state offices. But to elect candidates that not only say that they embody humane ideals, but commit to it by signing an oath. Right. And so you've seen that with Breeze, Harper, and myself. Yeah. Our third goal was to project the vision in communicating the advantages that this country would enjoy should we embrace a Humane Party platform? So that was the third vision. The fourth vision was to nurture and grow divisional chapters, regional chapters, and state chapters. And the fifth goal was to harvest the votes and actually elect Humane Party candidates to serve as U.S. president and a majority in both both houses of Congress. And then finally, the sixth goal was that we set out to do is to finish the job by collaborating with each other and passing legislation like the Abolition Amendment that is going to be necessary to achieve the mission that we set out to do. So those seem like very lofty goals, but I can say that we've seen us accomplish goal one. You've seen this organization, like your interaction and engagement with M.E.A.T alone is a perfect exemplification of the fact that we are organizing and we are embodying that culture of compassion and responsibility. The fact that we were able to coordinate in such a short notice and actually run for the office of the President of the United States shows that we have been able to accomplish our second goal. Our third goal, which was communicating the opportunities and the advantages that the Humane Party offers, well, I'm on a Skype call with two wonderful human beings that I'm sure the amount of activism that you two have done has touched the lives of other people. So here it is that all of us together are projecting the vision. And the fourth goal of nurturing and growing chapters, well, we see that happening, right? We see people in New York, in Florida, in New Mexico, in California, in Washington. People are hopping on calls on the weekends, completely volunteer to grow and establish chapters in each state. So now the only two goals that we need to accomplish is actually get somebody elected into the House to fill and infiltrate the House of Representatives and the Senate. And then we need to, once we have the friends in Congress to help champion the legislation that we've offered, then we need to pass that legislation.
Absolutely. All totally doable. It's so amazing. I'm just so in awe of the work that's already been done. Those are, I mean, to think that you've accomplished, or collectively as a platform that you've accomplished so much already, that's amazing. Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very, very, very proud of the people that I've been working with. Robin Miller, who is the current Chief Executive Officer of the Humane Party, the Board of Directors, including Maggie Sargent, Diane, Shel Harrison, Jeff Rosenberg, those folks, I consider myself as somebody that reports to them. And so anything that they come up with collectively that represent your voice. You've seen recently, I don't know if on social media, but they recently published another iteration of the Abolition Amendment, and they made it available for public comment.
Yes.
So we are really wanting to capture your voice and receive your input and work with you, the citizen, to make sure that we're representing your voice properly.
Absolutely. All right, so our next question here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we know that you are not taking donations from any private corporations, vegan or not, and you aren't accepting private donations either. It seems this strategy is aimed at changing the paradigm of lobbying in America's election system, as well as encouraging more honest platforms, the success of which rely on the strength of their ideas and not on money. And so, since this is totally unheard of in our system, here in our nation, would you mind telling the compassionate Americans out there how they can help further the goals of the Humane Party and create lasting change for animals? So, like, rather than making a donation, what would you have them do to raise awareness of your campaign and of the party's platform?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. 100%, we do not accept corporate donations because,
Awesome.
As we learned from Citizens United, we don't want to set a standard that we agree that corporations are considered, a person.
Yeah.
And that's completely destroyed our democratic process. the Humane Party itself does accept individual donations, but I think the reason why I, as a candidate, didn't want to accept the donations is, for one, I have yet to establish the trust of those that I had initially engaged with. Mm-hmm. It's just like you and I, if we just meet, you are going to lend your friend money because you know that person. You know what that person represents, and you know that, hey, if I loan that person $10, he'll either pay me back, or he'll do something, he or she will do something else. Mm-hmm. So when people started to approach me and they heard about the candidacy and they saw these interviews I was doing, you're right, I wanted to run, first of all, we're already taxpayers. We're already paying taxes, and the people elected to office represent us, and we pay their salaries through our taxes. So that was the first thing I thought about. The second thing I thought about was, well, I think it's very kind that you're offering money, but I want to be able to establish and grow with you. I want to be able to, for you to be able to trust me, not just this election cycle, but I want you to truly get to know me, so that when we do run in the future, and we have built this relationship together for 4 years now, you know that it's not just talk. You know now that if we contribute to a campaign, it's going to be well thought out. We're going to be completely transparent about what we would do with that money. And again, these are just individual donations. But in the meantime, please don't donate to this campaign, because I haven't earned your trust. I'm barely earning your vote. I want you to vote for us, but even then, you have to get to know me. And I would rather you take that money and donate in the name of the Humane Party, or the name of this campaign, in the name of a Roberts Harper ticket, to a charity for children, or donate to that animal sanctuary. Strategically, I can tell you that worked, because how awesome is it that you try to donate to a campaign, and that candidate says, please donate it here. I think that was a natural and organic way to establish trust. That's why we did that. But I can tell you that in 2020, we are looking at ways to be very transparent. And now that we know that the Humane Party exists, that we're producing viable candidates, that we can organize together in a grassroots effort, and look at the things where we're weak, and look at the areas where we are strong. And definitely leveraging technology, I think, has been a game changer. And so that's what I would ask your listeners to do, to help us, aside from money, is grow our base exponentially. Talk about the Humane Party, talk about the platform, leverage social media, volunteer, and then we'll galvanize and get together 2018, 2019, and we will collectively determine what the best way to win this next election.
Excellent. Very good. Okay, and then, with that in mind, the next election in mind, would you like to talk a little bit about specific volunteer opportunities for people who want to work more directly with the Humane Party?
Absolutely. So definitely social media, right? I mean, we have an editor-in-chief, Catherine, who works for the Humane Party. But I truly believe, especially as a guy working in technology, right? And look at what we're accomplishing today via technology, is social media. I think the biggest opportunities for us is through social media, and without having to pay ads. I mean, just a natural, organic, exponential growth of awareness via social media is that the people in your audience, if you understand what it is that we embody at the Humane Party and you embody as a vegan, and if we can synergize that feeling and leverage technology and social media to have that organic growth that we need, that's going to be important. So volunteers with that strategic mindset, that very high view of, if I use the analogy of flying in an airplane, Well, when you fly at 10,000 feet, you can kind of only see, your immediate surroundings in your city. Mm-hmm. But if you move up to 50,000 feet, you have a broader view. So definitely people that already use social media, already are vloggers, but really come up with strategic and clever ways to be able to exponentially grow our base. I think that's going to be very important. The second way to volunteer is become a candidate. Now, mm-hmm. I think this is going to be the most important. I'd like to make a point here, and I really hope that I can drive this one home. You know how in science, science is the process of repeating something over and over again until you can show that it's statistically valid. That's my interpretation of science. Like, oh yeah, that happened. Can we do it again? Okay, can you do the same thing and produce the same output or outcome? Okay, again and again and again until it's statistically valid. Well, one of the processes that we understand and know and experience here in this country is that it's the people in the Senate, it's the people in the House of Representatives, it's the person who represents the executive office as president and the vice president, and then we have the Supreme Court who interprets existing law passed by the House and Senate. Since this country was established, that is something that has been repeated over and over and over again. So we know that it's statistically valid. The Bill of Rights, all of the constitutional amendments have been passed in this manner. Why are we ignoring that? Mm-hmm.
Right.
Why are we allowing people, and we see it on TV today, that do not represent the voices of the majority of our citizens, that don't even come to ask us as people when we go to war. Yeah. Most of the time when you hear about going to war, whether it's a ground game or bombing somebody or espionage, have we been asked? No. It's the people in Senate, it's the people in the House of Representatives, and it's the person that sits in our executive office. So that is going to be the most profound need in terms of our volunteers, is we have a very unique opportunity to take advantage of that political process. And I'll put it in perspective for you guys. Ending animal abuse, exploitation, and the slaughter in the United States will require the election of Humane Party candidates, plain and simple. Now, there's 100 senators and over 400 people in the House of Representatives. Mm-hmm. For us to win a majority in the Senate, it would require 51 people. For us to win a majority in the House of Representatives, it would require winning 218 seats. That's, by all accounts, 270 people in a country of 350 million. We need to infiltrate that process. We need to infiltrate and replace the elected officials that sit and represent our voices now in the Senate and the House of Representatives and the executive branch, and we need to replace those people with people of true ethics, true moral integrity, that lead by example, that exemplify humane ideals, that treat our non-human animal friends with respect and dignity. And we have a unique opportunity. We cannot ignore that anymore. So I would say that if you are a citizen of this country, right, and you meet the age requirements, and you sign an oath, the Humane Party oath, to live your lives according to humane values, which for most vegans, that's easy to sign and get notarized. We have a very unique party to take back our government with 270 people. And when you put it in that perspective, that is not difficult. So get involved as a candidate, please.
That sounds like the best volunteer opportunity ever. I love it.
Thank you. Yes. It is. More than anything else, I think that is going to be key. We have the 2018 elections coming up for local offices and state offices, and so we definitely need to. And by the way, our brilliant CEO now, Robin Miller, who's one of the most visionary CEOs that I've ever had the pleasure of working with. We've been finding people that have been volunteering and checking that radio button that says, "I'd like to be a candidate." So we're starting to see it happen.
Very good.
Awesome.
Okay. So when we started our YouTube channel a while back, the first video that Sandra and I uploaded was about ag-gag laws. You're familiar with that term?
Absolutely.
Okay, so popping up in several states around the country, these ag-gag laws. And just to set the stage a little more, currently under the Patriot Act, the U.S. government pins animal rights activists as one of the America's greatest terror threats. Furthermore, with groups like the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics under heavy corporate influence from the murder industries that affect their policies and recommendations, our nation is not exactly a welcoming environment for those that speak the truth about these industries. So we love how your party and how you use science, how you bring this to the discussion, and maybe you'll talk to how would you as president work to address these complex issues on the national level.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when I hear about the ag-gag laws and their reference to human beings who have evolved to a level and in a state of consciousness of wanting to be empathetic to another being and their suffering, and the misery that they must experience when their child is kidnapped or taken from them is beyond me. That's when I almost lose faith in humanity. But then I meet people like you, and I meet people like Millie, who, by the way, I wanted to thank Millie for connecting me with you two, and to let her know that I'm thinking about her. She got in a car accident, and she's always been amazing. But to know that things like the Animal Enterprise Terrorism Act was passed, and that bill basically was designed to treat people with a compassionate view as a terrorist, is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever experienced in my life as a citizen of this country. I remember when that was passed back in 1992, there was a congressman named Dennis Kucinich who actually ran for president one time. But he didn't really talk about the fact that he was vegan. But I remember him stating that that bill was written in such a way that it would have a chilling effect on the exercise of our constitutional right to protest. It would have a chilling effect on our right to free speech. And even beyond that, when we think about our intellectual advantage, here it is that human beings have used and taken advantage of their intellectual advantage to keep an entire group of animals oppressed. So one of the things that we've been doing is we are writing proposed constitutional amendments like the Abolition Amendment, which I think by a natural kind of a selection process is going to address some of these ag-gag laws. But the key, again, is getting people into Congress and eliminating or replacing some of the other people that are in there now that actually would have the audacity to pass something like this. It goes back to those 51 people in Senate, and it goes back to those 218 people in the House of Representatives that we need to get into office. And that's why it's important that I talked about, science is repeating something over and over again. We know that this has been the case for over 200 years, that we've passed laws and legislations this way, but then we are frustrated by the outcomes. Well, that's not going to happen anymore. We need to replace these people and get rid of ridiculous acts like the Animal Enterprise Terrorism Act. Get rid of ridiculous acts like Citizens United and overturn these things. So I think that's going to be the best way to reverse that. Me as president, my job as president is to influence based on the voice of the people, based on the voice of the citizens that I represent, is to use my influence to influence the people in Congress as well. So that's one of the things I'm going to be doing as president, is to leverage the relationships we have both in the public sector and the private sector to use science in the private sector. I mean, we have brilliant students graduating with MBAs and PhDs. My vice presidential running mate, who I think you guys know, her name is Harper.
Yes.
Doctorate. She has a PhD from University of California, Davis, master's from Harvard University, and she's devoted her life to dissecting the ways that people are treated, how their culture and their sex and their gender and their economic situation greatly influences the way they eat. And she's been a vegan. These are the people that we want to collaborate with. As I've always said, I'm a man that speaks with data. I work for a company, a technology company, where you can't guess. You can't introduce opinion. You have to have facts and data. So that's what we're going to be doing with the Humane Party to overturn some of these ridiculous acts.
We love it.
Excellent. And this is our last question from us, which is, if you could meet any one of your political heroes, past or present, and sit down with them for a meal, number one, who would it be and why? And number two, what kind of vegan food would you serve them?
Wow. So if I can sit down with any political hero, past or present, who would it be? Gosh, I have so many. So political hero, the first person I think about is Dr. King, of course. The reason why is the actions, the movement that was built up behind Dr. King to help my father be able to vote, and actually be acknowledged as a fruitful citizen of this country is amazing. His son is a vegan, and his son understands the similarities between what African Americans and women and the lesbian, bisexual, gay, transsexual, queer community has gone through. And his son understands how similar that treatment is to how we treat our animal friends. And I think that it just would be amazing to sit down and talk to him and learn from him and just kind of soak that energy. Of course, I think of people like Buddha and other people like that. So, but that's who I would sit down with. And what would I make him? Let's see. Well, I'd probably in the morning make him tofu scramble with maybe some. I'd take vegan meat crumble and put some applesauce and kind of put it together in a sausage patty, and then I would bread it with maybe breadcrumbs on the outside. I would probably cook that in some grapeseed oil, flavor it, of course, with all of the herbs, the delicious herbs that this planet offers. And then for lunch, maybe I'd make some vegan tacos and red beans and rice or something. And then for dinner, I would make him maybe a Korean dish, like Yes, my mother is Korean, so I've been able to kind of customize the way that she's made Korean food to that, and of course we'd have our snacks. I have a number. I love vegan ice cream. We make cake the vegan way, of course. So definitely, I love cooking.
We can tell.
I was going to say, you made me hungry.
The full day menu there. I'm sure that Dr. King would be treated to the best vegan cuisine of 2016.
Oh, wow. That would just be amazing. But yeah, there's so many other leaders that I think of, but that's the first person I thought of.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, if you're ready for it, we have 4 questions that our fans sent in to ask you, and then that will conclude our interview. So
Sure, absolutely.
Here we go. Somebody wanted to know, what, if anything, would you do about the rising costs of college tuition and increasingly widespread student loan debt here in America?
Yeah. I talked to Brian about this. My vision of, I think things have to happen incrementally. So I think it'd be unrealistic for me to say that we're just going to forgive all student debt. However, the plan that I was proposing was that let's say we go to college and all together, and we ended up at University of California, Berkeley, where I attended, and we received a federally backed student loan each year of the 4 years that we attended that totaled $30,000, right? One of the ways that we can hold ourselves accountable while receiving subsidies from the government would be to show that we are leveraging our education responsibly.
Yeah.
So if I go and get a job, like right now, you guys are journalists. Basically, you are taking your knowledge of our economy, our environment, a healthy way to eat, and you are increasing awareness through your journalism. Well, if you went to school and you studied journalism, or if you studied communications, or you studied anything like that, and you are doing something to make a difference, and let's say we use technology and we have an online form to apply these checks and balances, or these automatic checks using algorithms to say, okay, this form that Clifton submitted shows that 52 times this year he spoke to children, teaching them about the benefits of veganism, which in turn is going to lower our healthcare costs, which in turn is going to allow employees to raise wages, which in turn is going to allow employers to keep the jobs here in this country.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, this person is doing his part to advancing the economy of this country, to advancing the social and economic status of this country. So as we do that, and you submit your form, your electronic form, to show, hey, in 1999, this is what I did, we will forgive that based on the impact that you show that it is providing to this country. So I don't think that it's too much to ask. Hey, government, I'm going to ask you to help me get me through college because I really want to go. And then when I'm done, I'm going to demonstrate to you, government, that it paid off, that your investment in me paid off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A data-driven approach. I like it.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. So I'm going to skip a couple because you already covered genetically modified food. But that was something that we had a question about. Number 2, what is your stance on vaccines and why?
So I want to separate the Humane Party stance on vaccines and my personal stance on vaccines.
Okay.
The Humane Party does not have a position currently because the Humane Party is a party that is based and rooted in science and ethics. Plus, we have so much strategically that we're focused on that I think vaccinations is, there's a lot more discussion and conversation and data to collect regarding vaccinations. However, as a vegan of nearly 20 years, and as a father who is raising children who are also vegan, I can tell you that I'm personally against vaccinations. Especially in California, they've made it a requirement for children that if they're going to attend a public school, that they have to be vaccinated now, which is ridiculous. If you've read recently what the ingredients in a vaccination is, I think most people would pause about what they believe about vaccinations. Me personally, when I learned that the very first vaccination was a derivative of cow, and basically it's a way to prepare our body to be able to accept something that's a foreign entity or foreign body that's coming into it, When I found that out, I was done.
Yeah.
You know, I remember growing up with quote unquote asthma. And as a child, I used to say to my mother, who as a person who loved me more than any other person in this world, I used to say to her, Mommy, if I can have any wish in this world, it would be to change my nose, because I can never breathe. I can never breathe out of my nose. And little did I know that it was because of my body producing mucus as a way to protect my body from this invasion of all of this lactose from this other mammal, this mammal that has 4 compartments in its stomach that grows from 40 pounds to 2,000 pounds in less than 2 years. And here it was, unbeknownst to my mother, that I was eating ice cream and drinking the milk of a cow, and it was making me sick.
Right.
And so they tried to, you know, and I took vaccinations, and it wasn't until I adopted a vegan lifestyle at the age of 30 that all of my ailments disappeared. And it wasn't until then that I realized that, hey, I don't have to be sick. I don't have to live with an uneasiness to it, you know? So I'm personally against vaccinations. It's not something that's part of our platform. So I didn't have to say that I was going to champion for or against it.
Yeah.
For me personally, I don't do it. As a matter of fact, I homeschooled my daughter this year because of that new legislation here in California that requires all students to be vaccinated before going to public school.
Okay. Wow. That's
Excellent. That's very commendable. And I just hope that, your example will encourage others to review how this applies in their lives and to review all of the data available to them.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Very good.
That's a wonderful way to put that. You know, just make sure you're looking at the facts, and really go and Google, you know, the most popular vaccinations like flu. You know why there's a flu season, right? Well, there's a flu season because the animals that we're preparing for slaughter, with the change in seasons, it's a different environment for these animals to handle. You know, with a change in seasons, there's an added dosage that's at a mass scale given to our cow friends and our chicken friends and our pig friends, and we feel that, and so that's why we have a flu season where they prepare us for the sicknesses that we're going to be ingesting.
Right.
And again, that's my personal thing, but when you think about it, it's logical. Right? I mean, let's stop abandoning our own common sense and logic and imagine us on that island of 100 people, right?
Right.
Yes.
And you know, if the 3 of us are going along and we're just picking berries and fruits off the trees and eating strawberries and, you know, figuring out different ways to prepare tofu and soybeans, and then you have another group of people on that same island that are killing other beings or eating the secretion or drinking the secretion that comes out of their bodies, and they get sick. Well, I don't think that you and I are going to go suck some of the fluid out of the things that they're getting sick from to help us prepare for. We're just going to be like, okay, we're not going to eat that.
Just avoid it altogether. Exactly.
Right.
And so this is our last viewer submitted question, which we are in Colorado. So of course we knew that this question was going to be submitted to us. But one of our viewers would like to know your stance on cannabis use, medical or otherwise.
Yeah, I think that cannabis, marijuana, is of the earth. I have seen just speaking of medically, I've seen too many cases, especially where it involves children that unfortunately weren't provided, and their caretakers weren't provided with enough information ahead of time to know that, you know, you can avoid cancer by eliminating the muscle and epinephrine of animal tissue that you're ingesting. But I've seen so many instances of data that shows that cannabis really helps to provide a sense of ease when it comes to some of the ailments that they're suffering from. It really helps to in the healing process. and that's specifically for children, not to mention people that do have cancer. My father died of prostate cancer back in 2016, and I recently attended funerals of people, Tony, who's, I grew up with Tony, and I had to attend his father's funeral. Tony James is his name, who also passed away from cancer. And but I've seen people that use marijuana or cannabis, or it's prescribed to them, and I've heard about what's going on in Colorado. I'm completely for the medical use, and I'm completely for the legalization of marijuana on a federal level. Now, I'm actually okay with the way that the states are handling it right now. I think that, the more that we see millennials growing up, and the more that we see states like California and Colorado and Washington California, I think, will pass the legalization of marijuana this year. Mm-hmm. But the more that we see states like that leading the way, I think other states will follow. But I'd love to be able to say at a federal level that, hey, this thing that comes from the earth, let's legalize it.
Very good. Glad to hear it. So, there we have it, everybody. That's all we have. This has been the P's of Happiness, 2 peas in a pod, passionately promoting plant-based living, positivity, and peace for the benefit of all non-human persons, with presidential nominee for the Humane Party, Clifton Roberts, an excellent, wonderful, extremely capable human being in whom we have a lot of faith.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. So you guys what city in Colorado are you in?
So we are in Pueblo, Colorado, which is pretty far south. We're about 2.5 hours south of Denver.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
And so actually we just moved here from Central Texas, New Braunfels, which is right next to San Antonio and Austin, big metropolitan area. But yeah, we looked around and we looked at cost of living around the nation and decided on a place where we could save money. And just try to do this full time now, and so here we are.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, it's been an honor to talk with you too. And please, again, if you happen to see Millie today, please give Millie a big hug for me. Tell her thank you so much for introducing me to the two of you. I'm so excited about what our future holds, to look at young folks like you that are interested in politics, that are increasing awareness about this party, and I admire you both so much. So thank you so much, and please tell Millie I said hi, and thank her for us. Thank her for
absolutely.
Thank Millie for us for putting this together.
Absolutely, we will. She is such a champion for this cause, and so we've been very, very lucky to hook up with her and hopefully get the word out about this movement, because it's such we have so much hope that, I think our generation has kind of felt like, oh, well, look at this mess we've been left with. And so to have this kind of hope that we're moving forward and there is kind of this mass awakening of consciousness.
That's beautiful. You guys are beautiful human beings. Thank you so much. And please, anytime, I'd love to be able to work with you after the election to raise awareness.
Yes.
And let's prepare for 2020 and let's get some other candidates elected.
Yes, absolutely. We will look forward to doing that with you. We're looking forward to spending more time on this type of project. So
preparation is one of the P's of happiness. So.
Yes.
That's right. I love it. I'm gonna take that.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Clifton.
Thanks for everything.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. Yay.